Yesterday, something happened in the United States that most people still don't fully grasp. Not a scandal, not a speech, not a tweet, but something far more dangerous. The United States government, the largest and most powerful institution on earth, came to a halt, frozen, locked, paralyzed by its own leaders. And while politicians fought on the Senate floor, while commentators debated on television, something far bigger was happening behind the scenes. America's system was cracking in real time. This wasn't just another shutdown. This was the longest government shutdown in US history, and it exposed something many Americans have feared for years. The system isn't working anymore, and the consequences, they're not theoretical. They're not political talking points. They're real painful and nationwide. Flights collapsing, food assistance frozen, federal workers unpaid, markets shaken, a nation brought to its knees by its own government. Let me walk you through what happened, not with political spin, but with reality. Because if you understand this moment, you'll understand exactly what direction the country is heading and how dangerous that direction might be. 40 days of government paralysis, 40 days of political deadlock that held the country hostage. Travel Secretary Sean Duffy went on record saying something no American ever expected to hear. Air travel could be reduced to a trickle, not because of weather, not because of terrorism, but because the government couldn't stay open. The FAA ordered mandatory flight cuts. Air traffic control staffing was collapsing. Major airlines reduced thousands of flights. Southwest cut 140 flights from a single day. United canceled more than 250 flights for Tuesday alone. American Airlines announced mandatory reductions across 40 airports. Delta hit 450 cancellations in one day. Travel wasn't slowing down. It was collapsing. A modern country isn't supposed to shut down like this. Not over politics, not over subsidies, not over party fights. But that's exactly what happened. And just when Americans thought it couldn't get worse, the Department of Agriculture ordered states to stop issuing full SNAP benefits after a Supreme Court decision. Food assistance frozen. Millions of low-income families suddenly wondering how they'll eat next month. Americans stranded in airports. Families unable to buy groceries. Federal workers begging for paychecks. Businesses stuck waiting for approvals that would never come. This wasn't politics. This was a system failure. Inside Washington, the scene was even stranger. Senators weren't working together. They were fighting their own colleagues. Democrats against Democrats. Republicans against Republicans. Every vote unpredictable. Every faction angry. Every negotiation fragile. The shutdown exposed fractures that have been quietly growing for years. A group of Senate Democratic centrists broke with their own leadership and negotiated a deal with Republicans, a deal to reopen the government now and push the Affordable Care Act subsidy fight to December. They said, this is the only deal on the table. Others accused them of surrender. Bernie Sanders warned, caving now would be a tragedy, a green light for authoritarianism. Sen. Hickenlooper Furious said he voted no because he was frustrated and the deal wasn't enough. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said Democrats would fight the compromise in the House. Democrats said he was starving children with the SNAP freeze. Republicans said Democrats were using Americans as leverage. Trump fired federal workers during the shutdown, mass firings that shocked Washington, and the final deal forced him to reverse those firings and banned him from doing it again. When Trump swore in new military members at the Commanders game, the stadium erupted in boos. People weren't angry about the ceremony. They were angry about the shutdown, and yet hours later, crowds cheered at other events he attended. This shutdown wasn't left versus right. It wasn't simple. It wasn't predictable. It revealed something deeper. America is no longer divided into two political parties. It is divided into factions, movements, ideologies, all fighting in the same building. Shutdowns are not just political crises. They are structural failures. Democrats said he was starving children with the SNAP freeze. Republicans said Democrats were using Americans as leverage. Trump fired federal workers during the shutdown, mass firings that shocked Washington, and the final deal forced him to reverse those firings and banned him from doing it again. When Trump swore in new military members at the Commanders game, the stadium erupted in boos. People weren't angry about the ceremony. They were angry about the shutdown, and yet Hours later, crowds cheered at other events he attended. This shutdown wasn't left versus right. It wasn't simple. It wasn't predictable. It revealed something deeper. America is no longer divided into two political parties. It is divided into factions, movements, ideologies, all fighting in the same building. Shutdowns are not just political crises. They are structural failures. When the government shuts down, agencies stop functioning, permits stop processing, airports collapse, national parks shut, veterans wait for benefits, healthcare subsidies stall, SNAP freezes, research stops, businesses lose billions, trust evaporates, and here's the part nobody wants to say. Shutdowns are becoming the new normal, because each side believes the shutdown helps them win. Each side believes they have leverage. Each side wants to force the other to cave. But people are not leverage. People are not bargaining chips. People do not deserve to be punished because Washington wants to play a political game. Senator Fetterman said it best, people are not leverage. This is an embarrassment. And he's right. Shutdowns don't punish politicians. Shutdowns punish Americans. The families who live paycheck to paycheck, the seniors who rely on food support, the workers who can't skip a month's pay, the parents dealing with canceled flights, the business owners waiting for federal approval. Shutdowns reveal something terrifying. America's government can stop working instantly and nobody can stop it. Not the president, not the Senate, not the House, not even the courts. One senator can delay the entire reopening for days. One faction can freeze a national budget. One disagreement can shut down a superpower. The system doesn't need to be attacked from outside. It can collapse from within. And that is the most alarming truth of all. Yes, the Senate reached a deal to reopen the government. Yes, the shutdown is ending. Yes, federal workers will be reinstated and paid. Yes, SNAP will be funded through 2026. Yes, the ACA vote will come in December, but that's not the real story. The real story is this. Nothing about this deal prevents the next shutdown. Nothing about it fixes the system. Nothing about it modernizes the government. Nothing about it stops extremists on either side. Nothing about it prevents the same crisis next year or next month. This deal is pain relief, not a cure. If a system collapses every time two parties disagree, then the system is broken. And the longer these shutdowns continue, the more fragile the country becomes. A nation can survive enemies, but it cannot survive dysfunction. This shutdown should be a wake-up call. Not to blame one side, but to rebuild the entire process, to create automatic budgets, to streamline agencies, to prioritize continuity, to modernize systems, to prevent shutdowns altogether. Because if America can shut down this easily during peace, imagine what happens during crisis. A major cyber attack, a natural disaster, a global conflict, a pandemic, a run on banks, a market crash, a major terror threat. If government can't stay open during calm, how will it manage chaos? Shutdowns don't just weaken the country today, they endanger the future. And every American, regardless of political party, deserves a system that doesn't collapse every time Washington argues. This wasn't just a shutdown. This was a sign, a warning, a preview of what happens when leadership fails and systems decay. The world is watching. Markets are watching. Americans are watching. Shutdowns are not politics. They are diagnostics. And the diagnosis is not good. The question isn't whether the government will shut down again. The question is whether America can fix the system before the next collapse. Because the real danger is not the shutdown we just survived, it's the one that's coming next. Because the real danger is not the shutdown we just survived, it's the one that's coming next. And if you look closely at the decisions being made right now, at the fractures forming in Congress, at the promises that were just exchanged in the final hours, you'll see something even more alarming. Nothing has been solved. The shutdown ended, but the trigger that caused it, still loaded, still cocked, still pointed straight at the country. The Senate didn't fix the budget system. They didn't solve the healthcare dispute. They didn't fix SNAP funding procedures. They didn't fix airline staffing shortages. They didn't fix internal party warfare. They just pressed pause. A temporary deal, temporary funding, temporary stability. But the problems underneath are permanent and growing. And here's the truth. Nobody in Washington wants to say out loud, this shutdown was only a preview. Let me explain why. But the problems underneath are permanent and growing. And here's the truth. Nobody in Washington wants to say out loud, this shutdown was only a preview. Let me explain why. The deal forces the Senate to vote on the ACA subsidies again in December, weeks from now. That vote is the very issue that caused this entire shutdown in the first place. So what happens when December arrives? Election pressure goes up, campaigns intensify, parties become less flexible, negotiations become harder, everyone digs in deeper, and we could be right back in the same place. Another shutdown, another crisis, another freeze. No system can survive this kind of cycle. Not families, not businesses, not federal workers, not airlines, not markets. This deal didn't diffuse the crisis. It rescheduled it. During the shutdown, airlines slashed thousands of flights. The FAA warned air travel will be reduced to a trickle, and that was before Thanksgiving and Christmas, New Year travel, winter storms, end-of-year traffic. If the government shuts down again during holiday travel, the consequences will be catastrophic. Aviation isn't like other industries. It doesn't slow down. It breaks. When staffing collapses, and next time, airlines may not have the capacity to absorb cuts. Travelers won't have alternative flights. The economy won't have room for delays. One shutdown nearly grounded the nation. Another could break it. This shutdown nearly left millions without food assistance. The Supreme Court decision forced the USDA to freeze full benefits instantly. Imagine a system so fragile that one court ruling can cut off America's food supply chain for its most vulnerable citizens. The deal funds SNAP through 2026, but the mechanism is still exposed. If future negotiations hit the same wall, SNAP freezes again, and if a shutdown hits during a recession, during rising unemployment, during inflation, millions of families could find themselves without food overnight. Shutdowns don't just cause inconvenience, they cause hunger. Think about the scenes from the Senate floor. 3 Republican senators delaying their votes until last second. Democratic centrists breaking with their leadership. Progressives calling the compromise total surrender. Fetterman saying Democrats are overplaying their hand. Hickenlooper openly admitting he voted no out of pure frustration. Sanders warning Democrats they're enabling authoritarianism. These aren't normal disagreements. These are fractures. When both parties are fighting internally, and both parties are refusing compromise, and both sides believe the other is dangerous, shutdowns become inevitable, not mistakes, strategies. And that is what makes the next shutdown nearly guaranteed. Americans watched as flights disappeared, grocery benefits froze, federal workers lost pay, Congress stalled, senators fought each other, political influences mobilized protests, stadiums booed the president. The country waited 40 days for leadership asks. And what message did Washington send? That governance is optional, that leadership can be paused, that political gain matters more than American lives. When people lose trust in institutions, they turn to alternatives, movements, outsiders, strong voices, polarizing figures. Shutdowns accelerate this shift. They push people out of the center and into the extremes. It's not just a government crisis. It's a social transformation, one shutdown at a time. Here's the most important point. Shutdowns were never supposed to happen this often. The system wasn't designed for it. The agencies weren't built for it. The economy wasn't structured for it. The population wasn't prepared for it. Every shutdown weakens national security, transportation, the economy, global trust, the dollar, the workforce, critical infrastructure, public morale. A modern superpower cannot run on start-stop mode. No country can. And if this cycle continues and nothing changes, there will come a shutdown that the system cannot restart from easily. A shutdown that triggers chain reactions. A shutdown that affects markets beyond repair. A shutdown that exposes vulnerabilities we never prepared for. A shutdown that becomes more than temporary. A shutdown that becomes historic in the worst possible way. Yes, the shutdown ended. Yes, the government is reopening. Yes, the immediate crisis is fading. But the system that caused it is still broken. December vote is still a bomb. Airlines are still understaffed. SNAP still vulnerable. Senate still fractured. House still polarized. President still in conflict with Congress. Public still angry. Shutdown threats still an option. The underlying dysfunction untouched. That means one thing. This will happen again. And next time, it may be worse. More painful. More disruptive. More dangerous. Shutdowns are not just political failures. They are warnings. Signals. Indicators that the system cannot hold much longer without reform. The question isn't whether the government will shut down again. The question is, will America be ready when it does? Because the next shutdown